Welcome back to this latest episode of Japan's top business interviews. My name is Greg Story. I'm the host of the show. I'm the president of Dale Carnegie Training Tokyo, Japan. My special guest today is Saori Kanno, who is the president of Revlon Japan. Kanno-san, welcome. Thank you very much for joining me.
Very nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. So, Kanno-san, thank you very much. I'm interested a little bit about how your career has progressed in leadership.
Okay.
So think back to maybe your first time that you became a leader, managing people.
Okay.
When was that and what were you doing?
Okay. Actually, I have been working in beauty industry as soon as I graduated from university.
Oh, okay.
And the first time when I was scouted, I would say, as director, marketing director, was when I was 36 years old.
Right.
At a very prestigious brand.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, it was a long time ago, actually. And becoming a director at the age of 36 was a little bit early. So I really needed to work very hard to try to look professional within the team.
And how long, was that the same company you joined straight out of university?
No. I changed a few.
A few, right?
Yeah.
So you got to a point where you became the head of marketing, director of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And how many people were in the marketing team at that time?
At that time, there were 10.
10, okay,
Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So had you been a colleague of the people working there, you came in from outside, or did you come from inside?
I came from outside. I was scouted.
Oh, scouted, right,
Yeah.
okay. So you arrive
Yes.
from outside.
Yeah.
You don't know anybody well.
Yeah.
And suddenly you got 10 people to take care of. So how did you go about creating some relationship with the 10 people who you're now their boss?
Well, actually, I was very confident about my knowledge and creativity about beauty. That was for sure. But I was kind of young within the team. Because again, becoming a marketing director at the age of 36 at the time, as a woman, it was a kind of news.
Right.
Okay, so I really wanted to be friendly to the team. I talked to each one of the team or out of the team. I mean, I talked to different teams too, and communicated very well. Yeah, that was the very first step because trust is built through communication, first of all.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. And so were there any challenges? You knew the business.
Yeah.
Probably new to that company.
Yes.
Companies always have a culture.
Yes.
And your job in that marketing section is to take that culture and make sure that's happening in your team.
Yeah.
So what did you find useful for building culture in a team?
Well, the important thing is that I trust the team.
Okay.
Yes, because, there is a tendency that the new boss,
Yes.
wants to show the power
Yes.
and gives direction, do this, do that, do this. But of course, I needed to do that.
Yes.
But at the same time, I listened to the team very, very carefully, and I listened to the ideas from the team.
Okay.
That's why I always had a kind of open discussion with the team.
So how did you go about getting new ideas from the team? What was working? How should we get ideas from our teams? What's good?
Well, I have even now too. I have a tendency to give a certain question to the team. What do you think is new? What is happening in the world? What is happening in the market? What do you think we should do? What differently should we do? Or this kind of casual communication. Yeah.
To one by one or as a group?
Well, of course, I used to have a marketing meeting regularly, but one-to-one communication as well. Yeah.
And so, did you have any formal brainstorming sessions?
Yes, of course.
So, what was your brainstorming methodology? How did you do that? What worked?
Well, I didn't think about any methodology. Okay, there is just one theme. How can we be more famous, or how can we improve ourselves, or how can we look different in the market? Methodology is one thing, but people need to think freely and need to talk freely. So the theme is just one, very short one, simple one.
Well, it sounds simple. But I've had many bosses, of course. But I remember one particular boss.
Yeah.
He would he'd get the whiteboard marker pen, stand next to the whiteboard, and he'd say, "Okay, give me some ideas on whatever, right?" And then someone would put up an idea, He'd say, "Oh, that's a stupid idea. Next idea." You know. Then someone would put up an idea. "I already tried that. No, next idea." After about like 1 minute of this, silence. You know, no one is brave enough to put up an idea like that. That wasn't a very good methodology. You know, so as you say, you need to have people feel confident, comfortable, safe. To put up the idea. So what have you found is good for building that type of psychologically safe environment?
That is why, you know, from the beginning, day one, as soon as I joined that company, X, I would say, I became very friendly. I talked to each one very friendly. And even now, you know, I'm the president of Revlon, but people say that I am a very, very easy to talk to GM.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So I talk to everybody, you know, all the day.
Yes.
And even to the, how to say, temporary staff.
Yep,
so people can talk to me.
Right.
People can give me some ideas. Yeah.
I feel you're approachable.
Yeah. So I don't reject. Well, I listen.
Okay. Okay. And when you get these ideas, because often, you know, you've probably had this experience, you go to the off-site to all the executives and you're brainstorming and all the walls are covered in sheets of ideas, you know, the whole thing's covered.
Yeah.
And then you go back to the office and nothing ever happens. That used to drive me crazy. Like we spent all that time, all those great ideas and nothing ever happened with them. That was frustrating. So what's your method of making sure their ideas actually get translated into reality? What do you do for that?
Well, anyway, from the beginning, the objective of meeting is not just discussion. We need to decide something. We need to change the company, or we need to change, or we need to come up with a very interesting ideas. That is the objective. So whatever, you know, how many pieces how many, what can I say, ideas are, you know, written on the paper, we need to select. We discuss. We keep discussion. How do you think about this? And we agree. And at the end of the day, we decide.
So it's all basically a consensus decision-making
to
come to an agreed formula.
Right. And the ultimate objective of this kind of discussion is that we win, or we enjoy winning.
Right.
We need to enjoy winning.
Winning means winning against the competition in the market? Is that where you've got that focus in your mind?
Many things. Winning to break our current status within our team. This is one thing. And winning in the market versus competitors is another thing.
Right. Very good. So after being, 4 years in that company you mentioned, what was the next step?
Again, I was scouted by another company, another beauty company. And I love beauty business very much, but I wanted to experience many different kinds of fields. That means not only prestigious brand, but I was really interested in learning or working in the mass market. And at the time, a French company who is doing the business in the mass market, beauty, mass market in Japan, scouted me as marketing director.
Okay, so again, marketing director, right? Yeah. And that was a bigger team, a bigger company, or a smaller team?
Middle-sized company.
Middle-sized company, right? So this time, again, you've had the experience of coming in from outside to a company, and you've learned how to get the people on board. Now, you're in a new company. Did you find the same techniques worked, or did you have to adjust yourself somehow to this different
actually, always the same technique works.
Every time.
Because, the base of the job or how to say, human relationships starts from heart.
Right.
So communication starts from heart.
Right.
And friendliness. Yes. So the same methodology worked.
It's interesting when you say that, because for many men, business is a type of battle. It's a war. It's a war with your competitors, but it's also a war with your rivals inside the company. So for many men, you're probably rare to hear a man say it starts from the heart. They're probably usually starting from the brain, right? From the logic.
I think so.
And they're thinking, okay, how can I make this work? Where can I save money? Where can I be more efficient? How can I get more productivity? How can I get my next big job? Their brain is starting from a different point. So it's interesting that you say that. Would you think that's Is that a you thing? Is that a Kanno-san thing? Is that a woman view on leadership? I don't know. How would we describe that?
Well, in general, I think that is a women's view because, for instance, I have some friends who are doing, president job, but we have a kind of, similarity.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Starting from the
We
human
are like a
relationship.
big mother, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting you say that because she's now no longer the mayor of Yokohama, but Hayashi-san, who is the mayor of Yokohama, when I was working at Shinsei Bank, we had a whole series of speakers come and talk to the women in the bank about career for women to develop your career. And she was a person who came and spoke. She had been in BMW before she got to become the mayor of Yokohama. And she was saying exactly the same thing, that she was using a different approach to men and she was dealing with a lot of men, a lot of big egoed men, and she found that the best way to get their cooperation was to praise them, thank them, not try to be the stronger male. Like men, we want to be the stronger male and force the others to do what we want. But she used a different technique of appreciating them, praising them, thanking them. And they felt very proud and happy to be like that. But really, she was still the president. She worked for us. So when I hear you say that, I was reflecting, oh, yeah, I said the same thing when I was at Shinsei Bank. So very interesting, So how long you were in this French company for?
10 years.
10 years, okay.
I joined that company as marketing director.
Right.
But 2 years later, I was appointed also as a sales director.
Oh, both?
Yeah.
Dual, sales and marketing?
Yeah.
In the beauty business, is that common to be both sales and marketing?
No,
Yeah, I've
quite
never
rare.
heard of that position. It's normally
Quite rare.
quite separated, right?
Yeah.
So why was that? Why did they want you to do both jobs? You got double salary, right?
No.
Oh, you didn't?
No, the salary increase was just a little bit.
Slight, yeah. Double the work.
But my French boss at the time, sent from headquarters,
Right.
he really enjoyed the way how I worked.
Right.
So I've been repeating saying like a friendship or communication or heart.
Yes.
But I have the same attitude toward our retailers too.
Right.
So I had a very great relationships with my retailers. So my ex-boss, that French boss, looked at me, and then he thought, oh, maybe Saori should do both. That is what happened.
How was the reaction from the sales team? What did they think?
Oh, of course, they were surprised because I had been an expert of marketing, but never done sales.
Yes.
And marketing and sales, of course,
Sometimes
there is
conflict,
there is some
right?
similarity, but normally they have different objectives.
Yeah.
So had the tendency to fight.
Yes.
So and I didn't have a detailed experiences as a sales guy.
Right.
So the sales team was a little bit surprised, but no choice. So I did my best.
So how did you win over these tough salespeople?
Well, actually, I learned a lot about sales. So I listened to the team because I couldn't say that I'm an expert of sales. So I listened to the team and they taught me a lot of things. And I listened to their ideas too. And the good thing is that because I was taking care of marketing too, so they wanted to give me some ideas which would work.
Okay.
In the market, in the field, which normally marketing, cannot think about.
Right.
So they wanted to tell me or give me a lot of ideas, and I listened to it, and I digested it, and I put some ideas into marketing. So at the end, there was a synergy.
Yeah, and I guess you're right, for salespeople, they often feel that marketing doesn't produce the right branding or packaging or product for what they think is going to be successful. No one ever listens to them. There's always that bit of conflict. And marketing always thinks, the salespeople should do a better job. They're not trying hard enough. There's a little bit of tension there, right? Yeah, and so that's interesting. So, 10 years there all together. And then Revlon after that?
Yeah, again.
Yeah.
Scouted
again.
Yeah.
Very good. And so I think when we were talking earlier, you mentioned to me this is actually your second time in Revlon.
Yes.
Yeah. So
as a president.
As a president. So you came this time as the president.
Yeah.
What was the position you had many years ago in Revlon when you first joined?
Senior marketing director.
Senior marketing director. Okay,
yeah,
right.
Mm-mm.
So you come back.
Yes.
I guess all the same people are here, right?
Yeah. No, actually, no.
It changed over quite a bit?
Yeah. Well, there are only 3 people who've been working at Revlon for more than 30 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So the team was different. The company was different too.
Company is different. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So again, all right, you sort of, the Revlon you knew is now a little bit different.
Yeah.
The people are quite different.
Yeah.
So again, what's your strategy for engaging this new team?
Well, again, the same thing.
Same things, yeah.
Yeah. But, this time I joined this company. I came back to this company as a president. So my objective was even bigger.
Yes.
My mission was bigger. So
Yes.
I was so much determined to change the company.
Okay.
Yeah. To improve the sales.
Right.
Yeah. So I had power. So, and then I thought about many creative ideas because in order to do that, just listening to the team is one thing, of course, because that is very important.
Yep.
But the president needs to take lead. Okay, the president needs to be an owner.
Yeah.
I really wanted to show that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I think we have that Japanese kotobaza about the frog in the well does not know the ocean.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you've been working inside the company, sometimes you're limited
Yes.
by what you can think
Yeah,
is possible
yeah,
because
yeah.
you're in a very contained atmosphere. But when you've been, like you've moved to different
Yeah,
organizations, so you know the ocean.
Yes.
And you can bring the ocean to the company.
Even
with
though I
some-
cannot swim
Ah.
by myself.
So, in terms of changing the company, when we take over organizations, headquarters have some ideas.
Yeah.
They pick us for a reason. They have something in mind. We want this new president to do this, and then we have to do that. But sometimes what they want us to do may not quite work in Japan, or it may be quite different from what was being done before. So now we have to get people to accept that difference. Did you have that experience?
Yeah. Well, actually, international brand like Revlon has a tendency to, push a kind of international branding. But for instance, Japanese beauty market is very different from others because many of women, even at my age, are still looking for kawaii or lovely, which is not the case for Revlon. But in order to be successful in a local market, we really need to understand the consumers, and I needed to explain about that or convince, what we need. We are different to our, region or global headquarters. Yeah.
And that's often not that easy, because often, in my experience, the executives fly into Japan and they fly back out again. So they somehow imagine, I know about Japan. I've been there many times.
Exactly.
I've been in the business for a long time. I know. But in fact, they don't have that subtlety or that nuance or the real insights. They got a sort of superficial level.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's not so easy to convince them. So what was your technique for convincing them?
Well, first of all, I know that I am a beauty expert.
Right.
And I was confident that I could make Revlon successful in Japan.
Right.
Because I analyzed what was done before I joined, and it was very clear to me that what should be changed. So with confidence, I explained that to my bosses, to the region or to the headquarters. But just a few months later, I changed many things already. Because, regional people don't come to Japan every month.
It's too slow anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So I quickly changed many things, and I changed the way to promote products or the visual. Of course, we have to respect, some international visuals, but I put a lot of local, ideas, and the sales immediately, improved. More than 50 years.
50 years. Okay.
As a brand, the history is more than 80 years.
Oh, okay.
But the brand arrived in Japan more than 50 years.
50 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So you're not the first president,
No.
So how come you are the first person to come in and start saying, well, hang on a minute, we've got to change the local look, the local branding, the local sales methodology. Why is that? How come somebody else didn't say that before?
Well, the important thing is that I am beauty addicted.
Okay.
I know the business, but before saying that I know the business, I love cosmetics, makeup.
Right.
So I have passion.
Right.
This is a very important thing.
Right.
So as you said that, some men, they work with their brains without knowing, beauty products.
Right.
So they think about the theory or marketing or whatever.
Yeah.
But I am a consumer too.
Yes.
So that's why, I had a passion and I knew my ideas or my team's ideas would react, would be perceived by consumers well or not.
Just on that, and I find it in my own team. I'm quite a bit older than they are, so I notice a difference in generational thinking, and the way they work is, for me, I notice, this is a bit different. So also, when we have younger consumers, I find it a little bit hard to understand younger people, to be honest. Their way of thinking is different to what I grew up with. So I always have that little bit of a struggle. And I always think to myself, when we're in business, how do we, as people who are more senior, more experienced, how do we adjust our thinking to what that, in this case, consumer is thinking? So how do you get around that problem of our experience is not their experience? Our viewpoint may not be their viewpoint. How do we keep in touch with the buyer who's younger?
Yeah. For instance, I am at present. Do I have to change the way of thinking? No, I cannot. Why do I have the team? My team consists of, middle-aged or younger people. So that's why I listen to them. They can tell us how young people think about, for instance, beauty or trend or fashion.
Right. So you're relying on your team to give you that feedback on where they see the market moving. That's
for instance, when I started marketing, there was no word of digital marketing. No. E-commerce, no.
No, right.
Right? TikTok, no. SNS, no. So I do it by myself now. But can I say that I'm an expert of digital marketing? No. So that's why I learned it from my team or from experts.
Good. You're capturing some feedback there. So we talked before about trying to get creativity. Now, when you're in the marketing team, you're running the marketing team. That's a very creative exercise, marketing, right?
Yes.
And sales is probably not creative in the same way. It's creative in its own way, but it's not quite the same thing. And then you're the president. So do you rely on your head of marketing to bring that creativity piece to the business? Or as a president, are you also still driving that creative part of the business?
I am a creative person. So I check, ideas, creative ideas, submitted from my marketing team, and I say, this is okay, this is great, but this is no, this is, conservative, something like that. So I manage everything. So,
when, in these sort of big companies, you can get this where the person who's in the role may not be a beauty expert like you are, and they're not the president. So it's always a little bit tricky to respect their position and authority and status and pride and face, but also direct things in a different way, So how do you get around that problem of, if you are very top down as a president, they lose face or they lose motivation or they lose, the love of the business. So how do you control that without destroying them?
Well, the important thing is, I don't think I'm doing the top down. Of course, sometimes I have to decide because as a president, I have to decide at the end.
Right?
But I listen to them, as I said to you. And the good thing is that, how do I say, giving claps is a very great thing. Okay, so if ideas submitted from my team, I say, well, this is a great idea. Congratulations.
Right.
As a president, giving motivation is a very, very important thing, Then, let's say, for instance, our marketing director submits me or gives me 10 ideas. And I say, no, these 3 are a little bit old-fashioned, and 7 are adopted. But still, that's a big congratulations. So I say, great, this is great. But for these three, I think it's better to do this.
Right.
Okay. So admiring people,
Right.
or how do I say, admiring people is a very important thing.
Well, just on that point, how about handling mistakes? In Japan's an interesting country that it's a country of no defects, no errors, no mistakes, everyone working very well inside their job. And so, how do we handle mistakes? We do training on this in leadership about handling mistakes, and I've had Japanese guys tell me that when they were younger and they made a mistake, this is going back a few years, when there were ashtrays, a guy said, I remember my boss got so angry, he threw the ashtray at my head because I made this big mistake. So I don't think we have any ashtrays to throw at people's heads anymore, but how do you handle mistakes? When people make mistakes, they don't do their job, how do you deal with that?
Well, actually, there are two kinds of mistakes. One is operational mistakes, like, for instance, printing in the wrong letter or something like that. It's very operational.
Yep.
Oh, for that, I say, please don't do this again, or please think about how your team can improve this process. This is how I say. Because if we make, for instance, printing mistakes, that will give effects to our retailers or consumers. So I cannot accept it so much. But it's matter of process. And the other thing is that the mistakes, I will not say mistakes because we are selling dreams.
Right.
Beauty is we are selling dreams.
Dream business.
Yes. So sometimes some ideas, don't work.
Right. Yep.
As much as we expected.
Yep.
But it's not a failure.
No.
And for instance, Revlon Japan is not a huge company. And as I said again, I am watching everything, and I'm in the process of everything. Decision of for instance, product definition.
Right.
Or shade selection or something like that. I don't do it by myself, but I watch it and I approve it. So I am in the whole process. So instead of blaming the team, saying that no, this is not this is not working well, but it's my mistake too.
Right.
So instead of saying that, we immediately go back to the review and analysis. What worked? What didn't work? Which kind of learning is there?
Yeah. I remember I read a story about, he's passed away now, Lee Iacocca was a very famous American leader of Chrysler. He was a guy who turned Chrysler around at that time. And I remember I read somewhere that his head of marketing, they made some big marketing campaign, but it completely bombed. Like, I think it was like $5 million or some huge amount of money, just gone. And the guy was called up to Lee Iacocca's office, and the guy expected to get fired,
Yeah.
And he said, I suppose you're going to fire me. And Lee Iacocca said, fire you? We just spent $5 million educating you. And I thought, wow, that's a really different type of leadership, isn't it? To actually have that mindset that we've educated you. Yeah, the bill is $5 million, but we've now invested in that. You know something. We're not firing you. So that's great. On the other side, though, what about delegation? Because what I'm hearing is you basically have got a very, very good feel for what's going on in the company. Yeah. You're touching many parts of the company.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
And delegation is an opportunity to grow people.
Yes.
So you have something of your job, and you give them part of that job to do, and they then grow. How do you do delegation?
Actually, I give a lot of delegation.
You do? Okay.
Yeah. And within this company, with my idea, every Monday morning, I conduct a weekly EC meeting, executive committee meeting.
Executive?
Executive committee.
Executive committee.
Yeah, committee meeting. By inviting a division head and number two from important division. And we share the the sales or ideas or issues or whatever from all divisions at a time, so that everybody understands what is happening in the company, what is working, what is not working, and we decide at quickly within the meeting about the solution, the next step. So in order to do that, each division head is attending with full power. And they have to say, so in this case, how about doing this?
Right.
And we decide, and we agree and decide.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're giving them delegated power to lead ideas from their team and push that through.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Yeah, it's something that I find that in Japan, because we're doing a lot of leadership training, and so when we get Japanese people in our leadership training courses, we realize very quickly they don't have a good methodology for doing delegation. What they'll tend to do is dump the project. They'll come up and they'll say, okay, do this. And that's basically it, you know. And the person receiving the delegation is unhappy because they think, well, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
I'm already busy.
Yeah.
I don't need any more work. And why do I have to do your work? They don't see the delegation as something that's going to help them. They feel it's like a type of burden or something like that. So it's often not done well in Japan. And also the idea of letting people have responsibility for that piece of work is not well established here, it seems.
I think so. Yeah. Especially in a very big company.
Yeah.
But our company is a kind of good size. Each division head.
How many people altogether here?
51.
51, okay.
Including
so
me.
Size.
Yeah. And we don't have a sales ladies, so just office people, including sales guys. So automatically, division head has to be very responsible. So, for instance, we have a kind of a monthly business review call with region, our Asian region, which is located in Hong Kong. And there are so many different parts, like executive summary part or financial part or marketing part or sales part or supply chain part. So each part has to be filled in or prepared by each division head. Then after all, of course, I check everything. But
And they present that in the meeting.
Yeah.
Right. In English, obviously.
Yes. Yeah.
must be challenging sometimes because often when you get to English in other parts of Asia, you have some very strong accents.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes like you've got to really concentrate on what people are saying. It's not so easy sometimes.
I got used to it now.
You used to it now. Okay, good.
But anyway, I have never studied abroad, so the same thing.
Well, how come your English is so good then?
Oh, thank you very much. I studied English at Keio University.
Oh, as a university student? That's the only time you did it? Wow, you must have a genius capacity for language.
No.
Really? No. To be honest, I presumed you'd been educated overseas because your English is so fluent.
Never.
Wow. That's impressive. That's really good. Well done for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done for you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. If you want to be successful as a leader, do the Leadership Training for Managers course. All companies need people who can both manage and lead. Leading people screams out for real skills in communication, dealing with all different types of people, being excellent at innovation, planning, delegation, handling mistakes, doing performance reviews really well, and inspiring and motivating the team. Do the Leadership Training for Managers course now in either Japanese or English. Are you doing business with Japan? Do you really know how things work? Japan Business Mastery provides the answers. Do you have the right networks and know how to create them? Do you know how to get on the same wavelength with Japanese buyers? Do you know what being trustworthy looks like from the Japanese perspective? Japan Business Mastery is based on more than 30 years' experience in Japan and will become your go-to guide. Want to succeed in Japan? Buy Japan Business Mastery now. So if we think about what about strategy, because often you get a type of directional strategy from headquarters, but this is Japan.
Yes.
So we have to translate that directional strategy into a strategy that works in Japan.
Yeah.
So how do you work on the strategy? What do you do to translate that broad strategy into a Japan-specific strategy? What works there?
Well, actually, each market has a different feature. So, for instance, if the global says, okay, next year, let's, how to say, target younger people by blah, 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 blah. Yes, it's one thing, but the definition of younger people is already different by country. Or
What's the definition of younger people in Japan then?
well, there is no definition of younger people in Japan because, any age of women are young at heart. That's why even, my age say that, oh, I like kawaii things or blah, 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 blah.
Right.
See, and in general, Japanese women like kawaii things, lovely
Cute things,
yes.
Cute things, yeah.
But for instance, if I talk about the U.S. market, young people are very mature already.
Yeah.
And they don't want to look like kawaii. So
They don't look cute.
so okay, I first digest the global objective. Of course, number is another thing, but if the objectives are kind of qualitative, then I have to start from digesting it. That is one thing. But then after that, anyway, market situation or even the size of category, like a face or lip or eye, is very different by market.
Yeah.
So then immediately I really have to focus on Japan market. What is strong and what is weak compared to what global is looking for or which product or something like that. So I dig a Japanese market, then try to find out which kind of strategy is good to be closer to what global is looking for. Yeah.
I was at a talk at the American Chamber recently, and Jesper Cole, who you know, I'm sure, was a famous economist here, was giving a talk, and he was making the point that the Japanese market is really, really competitive.
Yes.
And he was making the point that in America, most verticals and industries are dominated by 3 or 4 major players, right?
Exactly.
But Japan, you don't get that domination by 3 or 4 players. It's really broken up.
Yeah.
So you've got this tremendous concentration of competition in Japan. So when you think about the beauty market, I mean, it's a big market, but boy, there's a lot of competitors. So how do you think about strategy in that sense? Because you've got so much competition here.
Yes.
You've got a wealthy market. Japanese people dress well, they want to look great, so they're prepared to spend money on that. So the income is there for revenues. But how do you use strategy to beat your competition? What works there for that?
Well, you're quite right. For instance, in Japan, if I talk about the beauty brands in mass market, there are at least 30 brands in one shop.
Right.
And more than that, from Korean brands or
Yes.
Chinese brands or et cetera. So very competitive. So this is, first of all, as you said, that the starting point to be different from what global is looking for. Okay, so there is a tendency, for instance, in general, global, internationally, which kind of media works well in Japan or something like that. But listen, we have 30 brands in the market.
Yeah. Right.
And all 30 brands display each promotional towers within the promotional space. How can we be different? How can we be talkative?
Yeah.
Okay, this kind of thing is very important.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the market share of international brands is very small. So domestic brands are very, very strong, and they can develop new products very fast. So, but we don't want to be Me Too brands because we are not a Japanese brand. So how can we be different as international brand? How can we show relevancy to Japanese brands? This is a very important part. When we decide, strategy is one thing, but action plan. Yes.
And so that again, that type of action plan strategy, this is coming from the executive team?
Yes.
Is this coming from you as a beauty expert? How is that working?
No, actually, I decide the overall strategy
Right.
because that is about the business.
Right.
Revlon Japan should go which way and with which kind of sales target. So I already decide that and I discuss with the region or global. But for more details, I let the team to think because they want to enjoy coming up with some ideas. No, they are younger than me and they know they spend more time to look for or to watch competitors. So I give the task to each team. Marketing team, what do you think we should do different from last year? So they come to me with a lot of ideas. And sales team too, I say the same thing to sales team too, because a sales team has a tendency to be a little bit conservative.
Right.
They don't want to do something, out of box.
Right.
But I say to them, how differently can we do next year? So they think. But it's a fun process. Yeah. Then they came to me, with a lot of ideas, and I take a look at them, take a look at all the ideas, and try to make a little bit of story, and share with the executive team. And how do you think about this? How do you think about it, etc. So even for marketing ideas, sales team or finance team can say something.
Right.
I'm not an expert. For instance, a finance guy says, I'm not an expert of beauty, but because normally they are guys. But I think this idea is a little bit old-fashioned or something like that. So we can freely discuss once many ideas are on the table.
Actually, I interviewed Jerome Shushan from Godiva recently.
Yeah.
And he's a very innovative guy, amazingly innovative guy. And he mentioned to me that he has sort of creative groups whose task is to come up with new products every month.
Oh, that's a
And I was
lot of
like,
work.
wow, wow, that's something, like every month. But he's doing the same type of thing. He's looking into the teams to find the people who've got some passion, some ideas and motivation, and giving them a platform to then go and create those new products every month. I was like, wow, every month, gee, that's something. He's actually in the Nikkei today. Did you see his photograph?
Oh, I have not read it. I would read it.
He's in Kyudo Dojo in Seiza, sitting in kneeling position in a suit, and it's got. I didn't get a chance. I just saw it quickly this morning, a chance to read it. But there's Jerome. So no, very interesting what he's doing in terms of marketing. So in terms of for you, are you finding it? You talked before about getting young people's ideas through the leaders already there.
Yeah.
Are you finding it difficult to hire people? Like I found in my business, I'd like to hire more people, but it's become very difficult. There's so much competition. If you're using recruiters, it's suddenly really become like 40% type of 45% commission rates. It's just like, wow, I'm in the wrong business. I should be in the recruiting business. So that's been quite tough. How have you found it to recruit people?
Well, for very, very competitive position, something like an e-commerce director, because e-commerce or digital, it's not easy to find through, networking or something, or even LinkedIn. No, it's not easy. So for those important competitive positions, we go through headhunting.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But other than that, we go through, for instance, BizReach or this kind of... do you know? Are you familiar with BizReach?
Oh, BizReach, yes.
We go through,
So, and what about when you bring people on board? Because people get married, they have children, they leave the company, or they get scouted. Get scouted, and you've got to get new people in. What have you found works for onboarding people into the company? What works?
Well, actually, they decided to join our company because, they're interested in working for Revlon. So that's a good start, first of all. And, our size of our company, I mean, it's not a big company, so we don't give so much training. But of course, we offer 1 week training from each division. But then after that, immediately we put, newcomers into the team.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you send them out to the stores? For example, in some companies' cases, they will bring new people in, then they'll put them into the gemba, the location, to give them a direct experience of what the people who are selling the product are doing every day and get some feeling for the customers and what the customers are wanting to do. Do you do that at all? Do you sort of have them in, out, that type of thing?
Well, actually, sales guys, sales reps, they immediately start visiting stores or retailers, so they don't need to have this kind of training.
Right.
And marketing team, they don't necessarily go to stores to see. I mean, looking at the market, observing the market, it is already a part of their job. So, not as a training, but they spend time in the market. But other than that, no, we don't send the team to the market. But what is great about is that because within our company, we're always talking about competitors or our ideas or our sales every day. Okay, we have just launched a new product. Looks like this is working well. So that immediately gives a kind of a passion to the team. I want to visit stores to see how our promotional displays look like. Okay, so we have this kind of passion. So I don't need to oblige people to go to market.
So has, we started working from home in February 2020. And most people are still working at home. The sales team I've asked to come back into the office for different reasons around trying to build a culture there. But how have you found with your team? Are people working at home or everyone's in the office? How have you handled COVID in that sense?
Well, actually, till the emergency state got over, people could work at home. Okay. And if necessary, they come to work. So kind of freedom. Yes. But now, because the emergency state got over, and we are just in the period of preparing for next year's budget. So we are very, very busy. And in such a case, how do I say, direct communication makes the job, goes faster.
Yeah.
That's why there is a tendency that many people come. But I'm not obsessed with asking them to come to office every day. But if they can work at home, that's fine. Yeah,
I've found it. To be honest, I've found it harder as a leader to run the organization when people are not in the office, because in the office say, hey, what's happening with such? Tell me about so-and-so, It's immediate, right?
Yes.
But now, I ring people at home and then they don't answer the phone. Goes to the answering machine. And it takes ages before they ring you back. So everything seems to slow down. That's what I've found. How's your experience been?
Well, that's really true. But at the same time, employees who are so serious about work, they're always, sitting in front of computer.
Too much,
So sometimes I'm so surprised because normally I come to my office almost every day because that's easier for me to work or to observe, what is happening in the team or in the market. Or I have to communicate with the region or global, and I need a lot of different kinds of documents. That's why. But for instance, some of my team's directors, like a marketing director, she sometimes spends her time at home, but starting work from 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
So much concentrated. Wow. And I have a lot of questions to her. What was that? Blah, 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 blah. And then I, simply wrote some emails to her and immediately came back. So serious people, I don't want to say, I don't want to use the word lazy, but they are serious. They work properly.
Yeah, I don't think in my case it's not laziness. It's just, they're probably on another call or they're, I don't know what the hell they're doing. They're at home. Who can see what they're doing? But it just slows. I found it slowed everything down.
Yeah,
for
that's
me.
really true. Yeah.
And what about the beauty business during COVID? Has it been devastating? Has it been...
Disaster, I'd say.
Sorry?
It's a disaster.
Disaster for you.
Yeah, because mask-wearing lifestyle.
Yeah.
Under mask-wearing lifestyle, I think you see a lot of people not wearing, of course, lipsticks.
Yes.
And the face,
Yes.
the foundation.
Yes.
See? So, especially lip category, the sales, went down very much. Not, of course, not only from us, but in general. But on the other hand, the skincare, like a lotion or cream, that is working quite well. So makeup business had a really big damage, in the past 2 years. But finally, from the beginning of this month, or I would say that from the middle of last month, people started to go out a little more.
A bit more, yeah.
Yeah, so the sales started to come back slowly, yeah.
I keep telling my team, I'm waiting for the bell to ring, ding, 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 ding. COVID is over,
Yeah.
But I know it's going to ring. But when is it going to ring? Because, our business, training business too, same thing, been disastrous for the training business because we used to teach face-to-face.
Yeah.
Then we switched to online, which is okay, but then a lot of people want to do it face-to-face or they don't have budgets or, it's been hard for the training industry too, to be honest. So we're hoping that, I hope that your business is a type of precursor for our business. If things are getting better for you, maybe it means it's going to get better for us too. I'm hoping.
Let's keep in touch.
Yeah, really. I'll have to give you a call. Okay, how are things going over there?
Sure.
Is that bell ringing yet? So if you think about, if someone was being sent to Japan and they didn't know Japan, they didn't speak Japanese, but they've been inside the company, they know the business in that sense. What would be some words of advice, some hints you'd give them in order to be successful in their new posting in Japan?
Well, actually, I believe, for instance, Japanese employees know our market best. Okay, we are not talking about the conceptual things. We know the market reality. What happened, what is going to happen, what didn't work. So the important thing is, again, okay, even though this person doesn't speak Japanese, there are somebody who can support him or her. Talk to the team, listen to the team, trust the team. This trust is very important.
But on that point, though, often the person who's sent to Japan is sent to so-called fix something that headquarters is not happy with. Right? There was a previous person in charge. That person's been moved out. New person sent in. And often they're given instructions. Okay, you've got to go over there. We want to see those revenues get up. We want to see something happen. Make it happen. So they feel a lot of pressure to make change. And so how do we balance that contradiction of trust the team who are doing the same thing as they've always been doing with the new boss has been told to make things happen. So that's a bit of a tension.
The trust the team means that the trust, the knowledge which the team has. A new way of, how to say, action plan is something different. But, okay.
So dry.
Sorry,
Excuse me.
No. Do you need a candy?
No, it's the air's dry.
Right.
When you're wearing masks all the time, it dries you out.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry. Let me just pick that up. So.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, there is a tendency. I've been working at international companies for ages, and I had a lot of different bosses in the past. And as you said, their mission is so big, they immediately need to change the number first of all. But the thing is, there is also the tendency that the new bosses, international bosses, before communicating with the local team, they find network, international network
In Japan.
in Japan, and try to collect information about the market. But that is not 100%
No.
true. Okay, there is a bias sometimes. So it's okay to collect many information from everybody, but it's very important to listen to the team, Japanese or local team, first of all, about the market, about what we did. And listening does not mean that the local team does not want to change anything. No. They have some ideas, or maybe they wanted to change. But sometimes, under some limited, circumstances, their ideas were not listened to. By the previous boss. Okay, there are many complicated, stories are there. So before just, collecting information from other international sources, listen to the team. This is a very important thing. And this will develop trust. Because it's easy to think that, another new international boss. And they want to say that, I understand Japanese market, but does not know anything.
Wait 3 years and they're gone, right?
Yeah. Okay, so the first thing is that they're listening to the team and build the trust. Otherwise, the team does not want to help the new boss.
That's true.
Yeah. This is a very important thing, I think.
What else? What are some other pieces of advice you have for someone being sent to Japan for the first time?
Well, Japanese in general, I would say, in general, Japanese people are kind of passive or not so talkative, especially in English. A little bit shy and not so much used to logical way of thinking. So asking to the team, what do you think about this? Why do you think this is not good? Or blah, 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 blah. Pushing hard. Just frighten the team. So give them a breath sometimes, okay? Try to understand the way of Japanese thinking. Then, if the team get used to it.
So if the logical Western mind is pushing on these questions, and the Japanese way of thinking is different, what's the Japanese way of thinking then? Is it not logical? Is it emotional?
No, actually,
what is it?
Japan, of course, we have kind of our logic, but compared with Western culture, we are not used to think in a very logical way. That means that, in other words, we are not used to debating so much.
Right.
So asking too much, just frighten, and then Japanese people cannot say what they were thinking. So this is a cultural difference. I'm not saying that the Japanese people don't have any ideas or something. We have ideas. We have something to say, but don't frighten them so much.
So how should they approach them? What's a better way of approaching people then?
Well, just a way of talking, daily communication. How do you think about this? How, instead of just, talking like a machine gun. Or the other thing is, this is my experiences too. Now I'm a president, so I'm used to it, but Western culture has a tendency to say, I don't agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't, or this is ridiculous or something like that.
Very direct.
Yeah, but in general, Japanese people are not so much used to hear like that.
Yeah.
So, if Western top management speak a little bit softer, that will, I say, make a Japanese, team relax a little bit and open their doors.
Yeah, it's interesting. My team tell me that when I speak in English and when I speak in Japanese, it's quite different.
Yeah, I think so.
English is much more aggressive.
Yes.
But when I switch into Japanese, it tends to soften quite a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
They much prefer the Japanese version, I can tell you.
See? Yeah.
Any other pieces of advice for someone who's going to be sent to Japan, apart from those 2 points?
Well, this is a kind of a traditional way of saying maybe, but in Japanese there is a word, big bosses need to show your back.
Right.
That means
Show your back.
This means that you show you are working seriously.
Oh, okay.
You show you are responsible, and you show you are the owner of the business.
Not Hidari Uchiwa.
Yeah, exactly.
The opposite of the fan in the left hand doing nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the opposite, right?
Yeah. So that means that like sweating.
Hey, what's the expression in Japanese? You say senako miseru or something?
Yeah, senako miseru.
Senako miseru, show your back. Okay.
Yeah. Because I remember one time when I was working at one French company, and the president at the time of the Japanese office was just sitting in the office and sometimes watching, pictures, etc., and then never comes out from the room.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And only, at a very important meeting, he comes out and says, "Oh, I don't agree with this," or blah 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 blah. No. Bosses have to show, they are passionate and they're responsible and they are caring about the team.
Yep.
So, as a Japanese female president, I said the similar things before, at the beginning of this meeting. But watching all employees is very important because even, for instance, cats or dogs. If I say, "Oh, beautiful, oh, lovely," they look happy, no?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be looked at.
Yes.
So bosses, I know that, they have big pressure and they're busy and sometimes they cannot smile. But they have to pay attention to everybody. So what I do, for instance, is, "Oh, did you have your hair cut?
Okay.
Oh, your dress is nice," or something like that. Or "What did you do last weekend?" Something like that.
So, should they learn Japanese?
If they do, it's better. Because I know, okay, but you can never master one language in just 3 years or 4 years. No. But just friendly, communication should be done in Japanese, I think. Otherwise, the Japanese team will immediately think, okay, he will not stay in Japan, for a long time.
Not committed.
Yeah. And he doesn't have a real passion for Japanese culture or something like that.
Good point.
It's severe, but it's true.
Good point.
Yeah.
So I've asked you a lot of questions on leadership. Is there anything I should have asked you that I haven't asked you about leadership so far?
No, I think it's okay. Yeah.
So how would you define leadership? What's your definition of leadership?
Leadership for me is something like a motherhood.
Okay, motherhood. All right.
Yes. Mother is a very important role. I have, for instance, in my case, I have my team, and I want to make everybody happy, successful, and as a result, I want to become a very big mother who is successful in business or as a person. So my mission is giving love and passion and stages to the team. So all this work is leadership for me.
And you said in stages. What do you mean by in stages?
Stages, for instance, if one employee comes up with a very nice idea, I want to make it happen.
Oh, okay, right.
As her success story.
Right. And I mean, you've been in the beauty industry as a beauty expert, so it's basically, I mean, to some extent, it's probably more of a woman's world than a man's world. I guess there are men obviously working. I see plenty of them out there when I came in. But, as a woman who's been able to get to the presidency, do you have any advice for other ladies who may not be working in the beauty industry generally, but, they're motivated to get somewhere in their career? Do you have any advice for what they could think about?
Well, I would say just be natural and take advantage of being a woman.
What's the advantage of being a woman? What's the advantage?
I'm sorry. For instance, I'm weak, or when men are strong, or something like that. Just be natural.
Okay.
Women are sometimes, more smiley or more friendly. Just take advantage of that. Don't try to compete with men. Yeah. In terms of personality.
Yeah.
But for work, be prepared well. That is my advice. So, for instance, I'm a very friendly person. I don't get angry so much. But for my work, I work so hard in details so that I can answer to any kind of question given by men. Okay, so work is work. Personality is, it's a matter of management. So be a woman.
Well, I think it's been fascinating to hear your rise through the beauty industry to become the president and your ideas. And I love your concept of start from the heart. I wrote a book actually called Japan Sales Mastery. And I talked in that book a very similar idea that in selling, you have to get your kokoro gamai correct, as a salesperson, right? What's your intention? Is it to make big money, get a big bonus, get a big commission, or is it to serve the customer? Is it to make the customer successful? What's your starting point here, logically and emotionally? And you've got to get that very clear because business is a long-term thing.
Yes.
Relationships are long-term. And in sales, we're not after the sale. We're after the reorder. And if you have that mentality, then your starting point is very different. So when you said, you start from the heart, I thought, very similar to my idea about the kokoro gamai, which I learned here in Japan. Similar concept. So thank you for sharing that.
With pleasure.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you very much.
So please join us again for our next episode of Japan's top business interviews.